Hello everyone. First, I wish to convey my thanks to everyone for joining today. Since people have joined across the world, I wish to convey good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to DynamicsCon 2020 event. DynamicsCon 2020, it's a free virtual learning experience for all the Dynamics 365 and the Microsoft users and professionals. MVPs, experts, and SMEs from across the world talking all things about the Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. Today we are going to see the application lifecycle management for the Power Platform. Before getting into the topic, let me give a small introduction about myself. Myself, Dharani Balasubramaniam. People call me Dharani. I am working as a senior technical lead with Exchanging Malaysia. I am leading the Malaysia Microsoft Business Application User Group and also leading the ASEAN's Microsoft Business Application User Group. Also, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer too. On the screen, I'm flashing my contact details like my LinkedIn, Twitter, blog, and my YouTube channel. After the event, if you have any queries, you can reach out to me personally. I'm always glad to assist you on your queries. Here is the quick agenda of today's session. In today's session, we'll see what is ALM, why the ALM is so important nowadays, and then we'll see the build automation for the Power Platform, and we'll get into a system demo, and then finally we'll see the summary, and then we'll have the question and answer session. ALM is a lifecycle management of application which includes governance, development, and maintenance. Application lifecycle management is really an umbrella term that covers several different disciplines that traditionally were considered separate, including project requirement, requirements management, development, testing, and the quality assurance, as well as the customer support and the IT service delivery. ALM tool provides a standardized system for the communications and the collaborations between the software development teams and the related departments such as test and operations. These tools can also automate the process of software development and the delivery. To that end, ALM combines the disciplines concerned with all aspects of process to achieve the goal of driving the efficiency through the predictable and the repeatable software delivery process. Here is the key areas of ALM: governance, application development, and the maintenance. Governance includes the like requirement management, resource scheduling, data security, user access, change tracking, review, audit, deployment control, rollback, lot more are there. And similarly, we do have the application development. Application development includes identifying the current problem, planning, design, building, and testing that particular application. This area includes traditional developer and the app maker roles. And next, we do have the key area as a maintenance. Maintenance includes the deployment of the app and the maintenance of optional and the dependent technologies. Application lifecycle is the cyclical software development process that involves these areas. If you see in the previous screen, you can see it over here. Like we have a plan and track, develop, build and test, deploy, operate, monitor, and learn. This ALM is a complete life cycle process. Whenever they get the requirement, they will plan and track it, and they will develop the application. They will do the building and the testing, and then they will deploy it to the production, and they will operate. Again, they will monitor and they will learn from that, and again they will create a user story out of it. This is a complete cycle process which is involved in the ALM. Next, we'll see why the ALM is important nowadays. In the past, before the Agile Manifesto was published and before organization realized that their previous waterfall approach to the software development was inefficient and prone to scope creep, cost overruns, and lot of missed deadlines. Each of these disciplines that made up overall software process very complete separate. Once the organization realized how much more efficient they can be having an integrated teams that collaboratively define the requirements, plan the releases and the sprints, test the product during the development, and deploy the latest update in a seamless way. The whole separate process did not make any sense at all. So that's how the ALM came into the picture. And ALM is basically the fusing together of the disciplines concerned with all aspects of the software delivery process. For example, instead like a set of business analysts working in a backend to define the vision and the requirements, and he will hand off the design to the developers, and handing off the code to the testers, and handing off the product to the IT support team to deploy and maintain. Now we have a single ALM process spanning all these elements continuously, delivering new features every X weeks. As a human, we now expect updates to our systems and apps continuously rather than a major new release every 18 months once. And here is the ALM process for the Power Apps, Power Automate, and for the Common Data Service. Common Data Service in the Microsoft Power Platform lets you securely store data and manage data that used by the business application. To use the features and tools available for the ALM, all the environments available in the ALM must include a common database. So these are all the concepts important for understanding the ALM for using the Power Platform, like solutions, common data service, and the source control. Solutions are the mechanism for implementing the ALM. You use them to distribute the components across the environments through export and import. A component represents something that you can potentially customize. Anything that can be included in a solution is components such as sitemap, apps, entities, fields, charts, dashboard, plugins, workflows, lot more are there in the Power Platform. And next we do have the common data service. It stores all the artifacts including the solutions. And next we do have the source control. Source control should be your source of truth for storing and collaborating all your components. And here is the simple diagram which explains how our the solution works. Like there are two ways in if you are want to implement a Power Platform, we can implement it in a two ways. Like one is like exporting the unmanaged solution and place it as unpacked in the source control system. The build process imports the packed solution as an unmanaged into a temporary build environment, then export the solution as a managed and store it in the build artifacts in your source control system. Like these are the two main parts you can choose when working with the solutions in a source control system. You can export the unmanaged solution and place it as a unpacked in the source control system. The build process imports the packed solution as an unmanaged into a temporary build solution, which is nothing but a sandbox environment. Then export the solution as a managed and store it as a build artifact in your source control system. And next, the other ways are there, like you can export the solution as an unmanaged and also export the solution as a managed and place both the solutions in the source control system, although this method does not require a build environment. In the first method, we have used one temporary build environment, sandbox environment, that is not required over here. And also it does require maintaining two copies of all the components, like one is like unmanaged components from the unmanaged solution, and the next is like the managed components from the managed solution. And you can use any source control system and build a pipeline to start with for your continuous integration and the continuous deployment. However, in today's demo, I'm going to use the Azure Devops. And Azure Devops, I will be using the GitHub. GitHub is a development platform used by millions of developers. Azure Devops provides a developer services to support teams to plan, work, collaborate on code development, build and deploy your application. To get started, we need all those things, like we need Azure DevOps and we need the Power Platform build tools. In the upcoming slides, I will explain. We have a separate slide for the prerequisites. Over there, I will explain what are the prerequisites we required in order to build the ALM for the Power Platform. So when I was working as a platform engineer for the Power Platform on the Dynamics 365 CE project, at that time, I have faced a few key challenges with the Power Platform deployments. I have listed those below. Like each time the solution files were manually exported and imported to target environment, multiple deployment processes followed between the release environments, and master data were manually migrated in each environment. In order to resolve these challenges, I have started working on the deployment automation process. We have defined the process. It's not a thumb rule to follow this process. Each and every organization will have their own problem statement. For our problem statement and the challenges, we have come up with this automation process. Typically, if you see in a larger organization, multiple developers will be sharing the single source instance. As part of our process, if the developer is assigned with the user story, as a first step, they will come up with the design and they will present it to the solution review board. Solution review board is nothing but a group of architects who will be reviewing the solutions presented by the developers. Based on the solution review board approval, developers will start working on their user stories. Developer will do the customization and the configuration changes in the source environment. Once the user story is completed, then the developers will export the solution from the source instance using the PowerShell script into the Visual Studio. Then using the solution packager, they will unpack the solution and they will check in only the necessary components associated with that user story. As soon as the check-in is done, it will trigger the VSTS build definition. In the VSTS build definition, we have enabled the gated check-in process, and gated check-in process is to maintain the code quality and the coding standards. Also with this gated check-in process, we will make sure it won't break the complete deployment cycle. Note, this is the only manual step performed by the developer depending on the files or the changes that were extracted from that particular solution. Here is the high-level diagram of our process. As I mentioned, the developer will customize the system and he will merge the changes into the master CRM solution, and he will extract into an XML files. And he will exclude other developer changes and he will check in only his changes into the VSTS. Once he commits the changes into the VSTS build definition will trigger automatically, and it will pack that XML into an Power Platform solution file and it will push it into an artifacts folder. Once the build gets succeeded, VSTS release definition will trigger automatically and it will pick the file from the artifacts and it will deploy it into the SIT instance. Before deploying it into the SIT instance, we have configured the pre-deployment approvals. For the SIT instance, we have configured test manager as an approver. So as soon as the build release definition gets triggered, the approval email will be sent it to the test manager and he needs to validate and approve that particular release request. Once he approves, then this will run against the SIT environment and it will deploy the solution into the SIT environment. Once the SIT is completed, then if the business gives a sign off, and we will move that solution from the SIT environment into the UAT environment. From SIT to UAT, we are exporting as a managed solution from the SIT environment, and then we are deploying as a managed solution into the UAT environment. For deploying into UAT environment, we are having a similar approval process, which will be getting it from our the business owner. Once the business owner approves that particular request, then the solution will be deployed into an UAT environment. Then once it is deployed into the UAT environment, the business users, they will validate against the user story and they will give the sign off. On their approval, this solution will be picked from the VSTS and it will be deployed into the production instance. This is the high-level diagram of our typical ALM process which we have defined for our organization. Similarly, we have a master data, the configuration data. In my earlier days, I used to export the master data, and using the configuration migration tool, I will be importing this master data into a target instance. So over this also, I thought of automating it, and I have automated this process with the help of Azure Devops. So for example, if you want to import any master data into the target instance, as a first step, the developer, what he or she needs to do is like, he need to go to the advanced file, he need to export the data, and they will be importing into the target instance. But as part of our process, what we are doing is like, we are connecting to the configuration migration tool, and over there, we will be able to generate a schema file. We'll generate that schema file and we will place it in a common repository. Then once a new check-in has happened to that particular path, then we are triggering the VSTS build definition, and in the ALM, we do have a component to export the master data. So it will, with that XML file, it will take the XML file as an input and it will export the data and it will give you the data.zip file. That data.zip file will be able to push it to the artifacts repository. Once the build gets succeeded, the VSTS release definition, it will trigger and it will pick the data.zip file and it will import that data into the destination instance. This is how we are doing the master data of the configuration deployment using the ALM process. And this is how we are managing all our environments. And we do have the default environment, dev environment, SIT, UAT, and the production environment. Default environment, it comes along with all the common data service, all the Power Platform instances, and we do have the dev environment. Dev environment is a true source for all our customization and the configuration changes. And we have SIT, where you test all the functionality against the different types of data by the internal test users. And then we do have the UAT environment, where you test all the functionality against the different types of data by the business users. Then we do have the production go live instance. The default environment, every user in your tenant can create and edit apps in your common data service default environment that has the database. We strongly recommend that you create environments for a specific purpose and grant the appropriate roles and privilege only those peoples who need them actually. For example, in the dev environment, provide the app maker access only to the developers, not to the testers. For the testers, assign the appropriate roles and ask them to validate all the user story against the business functionalities. Before we start solving the problem, let us take a moment to define some of the mandatory steps which we need to follow. All the source code must be in the source control. For example, the plugin code, custom workflows, actions, then web resources, HTML, JS file, all those things should be available in the source control. And we need to check in regularly, and every check-in should trigger the commit process. And the commit process should be sort and validates the committed components, which is nothing but the gated check-in, which I have explained in the previous slides. And track changes and rollback whenever it is required. That is one of the advantage we'll be getting it if you are using the source control. So this is the prerequisites for our ALM process. Like we'll be using the Visual Studio 2015, 17 or 2019, and then we'll be using the VSTS or the Azure Devops, then the Power Platform environment, then PowerShell modules, solution packager, and Power Platform build tools, and we'll be using the configuration migration tool for migrating the master data. On the right hand side, I have pasted the Power Platform build tools. Earlier, it was not in the general availability. Now, recently, the Microsoft has made this tool as a general availability. Will be going forward. Everyone will be able to use this in their Azure DevOps task, build and release definitions. And here is the Visual Studio solution. This is how I'm maintaining the Visual Studio solution. In the demo, I will show you in detail how I'm maintaining each and every components like plugins, workflows, scripts. I will show you in detail over the demo. And next, we have the solution packager. So this solution packager is a tool that recursively decomposes a Dynamics 365 customer engagement components into multiple XML files and other files, so that these files can be easily managed by a source control system. That is the main advantage of the solution packager tool. The solution packager, we do have an extract, pack, and the mapping.xml. Extract, what it will do is like extract a CRM solution zip file into an individual component files. Pack, it will pack the individual components into an CRM solution. And next, we do have the mapping.xml. In the mapping.xml, we do have the folder mapping, file to file mapping, and file to path mapping. For our demo, I will be just using the file to file map. Okay. And in the right hand side, I have added the screenshot of how it will unpack the zip file into an individual CRM components. I have taken a screenshot and I have added to the right hand side of my slide. And next, I'm going to explain about the PowerShell script, which I'm using it to export the solution from the target source instance. So here is the PowerShell script. This PowerShell script are used with the data centers, clouds, virtual machines, servers, and the applications to perform a variety of administration tasks. And Dynamics 365 is not an exception. This following script can be used to export the solution from the source environment. It works with the managed, unmanaged, and the patch solution. Execution of the script can be triggered manually or it can be put into a release pipeline. This script generally uses the Microsoft.xrm.data.PowerShell. It is a great module to work with the Dynamics 365 implemented by Shian McNeilis and Kechinuro Nakamura. And this script will attempt to install the module in case it is missing. Don't forget to update the credentials, URLs, and the solution name in the code. Once it is updated, then you will be able to run this PowerShell script. This PowerShell script, it will establish a connection to the source environment and it will export the solution, whatever solution you are mentioning in the parameter, it will export that solution and it will put it into an uncommon particular path. Next, we do have a connection to environments. In order to interact with the Power Platform environment, connection must be established that enables the various build tool tasks to perform the required actions. Two types of connections are available. One is like with the help of username and password, and the other one is using the service principal, which is nothing but using the application ID and the application secret, nothing but a client secret. This username and password does not support the multi-factor authentication. This username and password, it can be configured as a generic service connection. So, and also does not support any multi-factor authentication. Whereas this service principal and the client secret, it is a recommended approach by the Microsoft. This connection type uses service-based authentication and also it supports the multi-factor authentication. Here is the screenshot of the VSTS build definition. So here I will in my demo, I will clearly explain you how this VSTS build definition works. Similar way, I have added the screenshot for my VSTS release definition. Now we'll quickly get into the system demo and we'll see how quickly we'll be able to configure the ALM for the Power Platform. So here is my screen. So in order to use the Azure Devops, you need to log in with the dev.azure.com, and in the dev.azure.com, you can create a multiple projects. So here right now for our demo, I have created a project called DynamicsCon ALM Fundamentals. If you go inside this project, then you will be able to get a complete repository of your source code, your user story, on all the test cases, test execution results, and pipelines, test plans, artifacts, everything will be available in your Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps, I'm not going to explain in detail. I will quickly get into this the repos. So this is the repos which I have created, Dynamics Con ALM fundamentals, and this is how we are following the branching strategy. We'll be having the master branch, and for each and every sprint release, we'll create a release branch, and from this release branch, we'll be releasing it to the test environment, UAT environment, and the production environment. Once this particular release is done, then we are merging this release into a master branch. So once each and every release is successfully deployed into the target instances, then we are merging these components into a master branch. So this is how we are doing it. So let me quickly get into the Visual Studio. Like this is how I'm maintaining my solution. Like this is the project, and under this project, this is my solution, like ALM fundamentals solutions. Under this, I have created my different projects like AM fundamentals.common and ALM fundamentals plugins, ALM fundamental scripts, solutions, and workflows. Here in my organization, we are using the Power Platform and also the Dynamics 365 CE. So in order to have the common source code, we are maintaining everything under one common place in the Azure DevOps. So that's the reason we have added all our CE plugins, scripts, workflows, all those things over here. And if you expand the scripts, here I'm maintaining all my PowerShell script. So this export solution data PS1 is the PowerShell script. This is the script which will connect with the source instance, and it will establish a connection and it will export the solution. In this PowerShell script, I have kept the solution short name, username, password, and export source location where the solution needs to be exported, and instance, region, type, and the organization. All those details you need to make sure like you are providing all this information correctly. Once this is done, then this PowerShell script, what it will do is like first it will import the Microsoft.xrm.data.PowerShell. It will check for this. If this module is not present, then it will install this. Then we need to make sure like this module is installed in your PowerShell so that you will be able to use this export CRM solution method. Okay. Once this is done, then We are using the credentials which we are passing it here, the username and password, and we are establishing a connection to the source environment. Here we have a method called get CRM connection, and we are passing the credentials, deployment region, online type, and the organization name. By calling this get CRM connection method, it will establish a connection to the source environment, and this connection will be stored in this particular object, CRM con. Once this is done, then we have a command to export the solution, export CRM solution. Then we are providing the solution name, export location, and the zip file name, and the solution name, and the connection we need to provide it over here. And you can export both managed and the unmanaged solution. If you are not giving the hyphen managed property, then by default it will consider as an unmanaged solution, and it will export the unmanaged solution from the instance. And if you give hyphen manage, then it will consider this as a managed solution, and it will export the managed solution from the source instance. So now next, once this is done, then we have a command file. This what it will do is like it will take that zip file and it will unpack it into this particular format. Here you will be able to see it. It will unpack it into a separate canvas app and workflows. The Microsoft flows also, it will come and sit under the workflows. Here you will be able to see it. But one difference you can note between the Dynamics 365 workflows and the Microsoft the flows is nothing but over there it will be a XML file, but here it will be a JSON file. With this, you will be easily able to segregate whether this is a MS flow or it's a Dynamics 365 flow. So now I will run and show you. So if I run this one, it will ask for the solution name. I will just provide my solution name. And if I click on enter, then it will try to import the Microsoft.xrm.data.powershell, and it will establish a connection, and it will start exporting the solution. Let it export the solution. In the meanwhile, we'll quickly go and see the VSTS build and release definition. So here is the VSTS build and release definition. So once the developer commits the component from the once again, once the developer, sorry, once again. Okay, ready, 1, 2, 3, start. So once the developer commits the component from the Visual Studio, this VSTS build definition, it will trigger automatically. And here are the steps which I have added into my VSTS build definition. First is the NuGet restore. For what all the SLN files we are having, right, it will resolve all the DLL dependencies. Once this is done, then we are building the solution in order to make sure like the build is getting succeeded. Next, we have a component called Power Platform Tool Installer. So before seeing this, here I will quickly show you. So this is the Power Platform. This is the Microsoft Power Platform build tools for the Azure Devops, which you will be easily able to do the ALM for the Power Platform. So here is the link. So if you go and type it here, you will get that tool. This is the build tools. So if you go to the marketplace, and it will show you, it will give you the provision to install this into an Azure DevOps instance. Since I have already installed, for me it is listing all the components. And if you haven't installed this component, you can go to the Azure DevOps marketplace, and from there you will be able to download this component. So once you download it, then it will start appearing from your task. If you can click on this plus button, and if you type the Power Platform here, then it will list all the Power Platform components, the ALM components associated with this Azure DevOps, all will be listed over here. So these are the things, like it has lots of features like import solution, tool installer, backup environment, copy, create environment. You can set the solution version, and you can publish the customization. You can export the solution. You can deploy the package. So it has lots and lots of features which comes with the ALM process. When you have time, you just explore all these components. Let me quickly get into my demo now. Like This is the mandatory step which you need to install in order to use the ALM in your VSTS build definition. So this is the mandatory step. So I have added this one. Once this is done, then I'm using the Power Platform Pack Solution component. So to this Power Platform Pack Solution component, you need to provide the solution to pack, the source folder of the solution to pack, and then you need to provide the output file where it should pack and where it should put the solution. And here we have two types of solution, like managed, unmanaged, and if you want both, you can select both. And if you select this, and once this is packed, then you need to publish this to an artifacts folder. So I have created a name called a drop folder, drop, and I'm pushing this solution file into a drop folder. Once this build gets succeeded, then we do have a release component, release definition. Here you will be able to see the release definition. So as I mentioned earlier, here I have added the pre-deployment conditions. So for the pre-deployment, I have kept mine as approver for our demo, but in real scenario, you can add your test manager. This is for the QA instance. Similarly, you can add your UAT production instance. And for the UAT and the production instance, you can add the product owners and the business units as per your requirements. You will be able to add it. Now let me get into my release pipeline. As I mentioned in the build pipeline, this is the mandatory task. You need to add it, the Power Platform tool installer. Once, in order to use all these components, this is the mandatory thing. You need to add it. If you're not adding, and if you're adding this below components, and if you're running this pipeline, this will fail for sure. So you always keep in mind that you need to add this Power Platform tool installer. Once this is done, then in the release definition, what I'm doing is like, whatever the solution we have formed in the build definition, I'm doing a solution checker. In the ALM, we have a component called Power Platform Checker. In the Power Platform build tools, we have a component called Power Platform Checker. As part of our ALM process, we need to make sure like whatever the solution we have formed, it is not having any major or the critical issues. So that's what I'm doing it in the second step. Once this is done, then I have added a component called Power Platform import solution. This import solution, it will connect to the destination instance and it will import the solution which we have prepared in the VSTS build definition. This it will pick from the artifacts folder. Here you need to provide the folder path. And the authentication type, here we have two types as I explained in the slide. We have the username and the password method, and the other one is like we have the service principal method. So you can use either one of it, and you will be able to establish a connection to it. Next, we have the Power Platform publish customization components. Once the solution is imported into the system, we will do the Power Platform publish customization component. We'll publish the complete Power Platform environment in order to make sure all the changes, whatever we have imported, it should reflect in the target instance. So that is the reason we are doing this one. Now let's go back to the. So here I have given the name and I have ran this. Now it successfully exported the solution into the particular path. Now if you go to the Visual Studio, here we'll be able to see this solution. So now I'm going here, and after exporting the solution with the PowerShell script, next step what we need to do is like we have the command file. What this command file it will do is like it will take the zip file and it will extract into this particular format. This is what it will do. Okay. So now if you go and unpack the solution, it will unpack the components into this particular format. Down you will be able to see it. This is how it will unpack it. So you can see it here, the processing components, workflows, the Canvas app. This is how it will unpack it, and you will be able to see all the components over here. And if the developer right clicks and if he check in this particular file here, and automatically the build definition will trigger. I will check in this one. So as soon as if I check in this, if you come to the Azure Dev portal, Here the build definition, it will trigger. For our demo, I will just show with the existing build and release definition. Okay, so here you will be able to see it. Like this build a solution, this has built the solution, and we have the Power Platform tool installer. This has installed all the necessary the PowerShell scripts, and then we have the Power Platform pack solution. It has taken that particular this particular path, and it has packed into an CRM solution file, the Power Platform solution file. And once this is done, this has pushed that particular zip file into an artifacts folder. This is how the VSTS build definition it will run. Now, if you go to the release definition, and here is the latest release definition. So if you see here, you can see the pre-deployment approvals. If you expand this one, here you can see who has approved this particular request. For our demo purpose, I have just given my name as approver. So, and I have approved this particular request. That's the reason it is showing my name over here. Okay. Once this is approved by the test manager, then this build release definition, it will trigger automatically. First step, what it will do is like it will download the artifacts file. In the build definition, we have created a solution file and we have pushed it to the artifacts. It will download the artifacts. In the artifacts, you can clearly see here one zip file will be there. So it will download that particular zip file. Okay. Once this is done, then as I mentioned, this is a mandatory step. If you want to use the Power Platform builder tools, this is the mandatory task, you need to add it. This has run and it has installed all the PowerShell script which are required in order to run all the below components. Then we have an import solution here. This has picked that solution from the artifacts and it has imported into the target instance. Now next we do have the publish customization. Once the solution is imported, then it will connect to the destination instance and it will completely publish the destination instance. This is the VSTS release definition works. Now we'll go to the source environment. I will show you. So for our demo, I have considered this as a source instance and this as my target instance. You can see it here. The klfreelancer.crm5.dynamics.com is my target instance, and here is my source instance. So arg4285a467 is my target instance. So in the target instance, what you need to do is like you need to create your solution here. So this is the ALM fundamentals, is the solution which I have created for our demo. So inside your solution, you can add your Canvas app and you can add your Microsoft flows. Once this is done, then the developer, they need to export the solution using the PowerShell script and they need to check in only their necessary components into the source control. Then the VSTS build definition, it will unpack and it will form the solution again and it will push it to the artifacts. The release definition, it will pick that solution and it will import it into the target instance. Now I will show you the target instance. Here you can see the target instance. You can see it here. So this has been installed on 18/8/2020. Before some time, I have ran this build definition and it got imported here. Then if you open this solution file, you will be able to see only those components. So it's taking a time. If you see from the classic view, you will be able to see only the flows. Whereas if you go to the Power Platform and if you see the particular solution, then here you will be able to see all the Canvas app and also you will be able to see the flows associated with it. So yeah. So before winding up this demo, let me quickly show you how to create a connection. So if you go here, if you go to the release definition and if you click on this edit here, if you go here and if you in the connection service connection, you will be able to see a button called manage. If you click on this, it will take you to the settings page, the service connection page. As I mentioned, we can create a connection in two ways. One is like if you click on the service connection and if you type this generic one And if you click this and if you click on this next button, it will ask you for the instance URL, username, password, and if you provide the connection service connection name and the description, and you need to check this one, and if you click on the save, the connection will get established here. You can see the connection here. So this is the generic connection which I have created, and I have created one more connection with the type of the application ID and the client secret. For this, what you need to do is like if you click on new service connection and if you type the our platform here, you can see it. These are the public preview one. Earlier it was there in the public preview. Now they have changed it to general availability, and this is the service connection for the general availability. If you click on this and if you click next, it will ask you for the server URL. You need to provide the instance URL here. The tenant ID you will get it from the portal dot. You can go to the this one portal.azure.com, and you need to register you this particular Dynamics instance, the Power Platform instance, under the app registration. Then if you register it over there, then over there you will get your tenant ID, application ID, and the client secret. You need to copy all those details, and you need to provide the server URL. And if you provide all these three details, and if you provide the service connection name, description, and if you click on save, this connection will be established. And in your release definition here, in the authentication type, you can select whatever way you want. If you are selecting this method, then it will list only the generic connection which is available in the system. And if you select the service principal or the client secret method, and this drop down will get changed automatically, then it will list only the connection which has been created via the application ID and the client secret. So it will list it in this two-way. This is how we need to create a connection for the Power Platform build tools in order to establish a connection to the Power Platform environment. Now let's quickly get into the. So here is the demo which we have seen. Next, we'll quickly see the summary of what we have seen today. Like we got a greater awareness and we got the need for CI/CD, and it is much easier than before to implement. And the general availability of tools and frameworks is available on all the manual operations. It can be done via the automation, and you can choose the level scope of automation based on the cost or the benefit approach. And there is a reduction in the risk and increase in the efficiency, quality, and the consistency, and you can reduce the time to market. And initially the developers they will be getting they will take some time to get used to this method. Once they get used to this method, and it will be a happy approach for them in order to maintain all the components and also effectively to do the deployment for the Power Platform components. This build tool works for both the Canvas app and for the model-driven apps, the Power Virtual Agents, UI flows, and the traditional flows, AI Builder, custom connectors, and the data flows, and all of which can be now added to a solution. This also includes the customer engagement app, Dynamics 365 Sales, customer service, field service, marketing, the project service automation, all those components you will be able to add it to a solution. And separate build tasks are available for the finance and operation applications. This you will not be able to use it for the finance and operations. This build tools are available at no cost. This is completely free. The one thing you need to do is like you need to go to the Azure marketplace and you need to search for the Power Platform build tools. And if you are not installed to your instance, it will show the install button. From there, you can quickly install, and it will automatically, once it is installed, it will come on automatically to your task, VSTS build and release definition. Thank you for attending. So once again, I'm flashing all my contact details like my blog URL, Twitter, email, and also I have put my QR code for my LinkedIn. So if you wish to connect with me, please feel free to connect with me. If you have any queries regarding this ALM process, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy and glad to assist you on your queries. Once again, thanks everyone for joining today. And also I wish to thank Dynamics communities, DynamicsCon, for providing me this wonderful opportunity to present in the DynamicsCon 2020 event. Thank you.